Wits Business School, in collaboration with the Consulate General of India, is hosting a Matla-Urja Energy Conference in Johannesburg today. So it started yesterday, it's carrying on today. It's a two-day conference dubbed Matla-Urja, meaning energy in Sesotho and Hindi. It's bringing together industry leaders and academics from South Africa and India to engage on both shared and divergent energy challenges, as well as explore investment opportunities. Now, for background, India is the third largest energy consumer globally and has emerged as a global leader in the energy transition. South Africa, on the other hand, faces the multi-pronged challenge of providing affordable, secure and clean energy for its citizens. But to tell us more about the conference, the Professor of International Business and Strategy at Wits Business Schools, Prof Mills Soko, is in studio to tell us more about this. So good to have you, Professor. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Leanne. I'm pleased to be here.
How was the first day? Obviously, this was a basic setup to where we're going with us. So perhaps now that you've started it, what was it like?
Yes, we kicked off with the academic conference yesterday. It was well subscribed and there are very good discussions involving academics, researchers, scholars from both India and South Africa, reflecting on key policy challenges and research in the energy field. And the topics that were discussed yesterday included, among others, the role of coal and gas in the just energy transition. We also looked at energy modeling trends in the world, as well as skills and development, skills and capacity development, that is required to drive the just energy transition. So it was a very well attended, very good discussions, and we came up with very good suggestions about how scholars will collaborate between the two countries. There were also other scholars from the United States who participated in the conference.
Fantastic.
So, yes.
Perhaps I can get a bit of an understanding from you in terms of India's way of energy. What do they use? Is it, perhaps you can give us an idea of what it is that they are using that we're learning from, because, I mean, we're hearing, and we said it in the introduction, that they're the third largest energy consumer globally, and it's pretty successful in their power and energy supply.
Yes, so they have a power surplus, and they've done very well in terms of navigating the energy transition, but they also have challenges, including the financing the energy transition, as well as policy problems in terms of the policy framework. But India, as you say, is the third largest consumer of energy globally, and is playing a very important part in the world in terms of shaping the global dialogue on energy issues.
Yeah. So, I mean, when you say that a couple of things came out of it yesterday and some good suggestions, what would you say is the key for what it is that South Africa needs to address these power challenges, and how India and South Africa can work together on this?
There are several areas, and that is what we'll focus on today, in today's conference, which is the main conference, that will start with the keynote address by the Minister of Electricity and Energy, Dr. Hosiyansora Mahopa, as well as the signing of an MOU by the CEO, Group CEO of ESCOM, Mr. Dan Marugane. But what I think we can learn, and that's what we'll be discussing, the first item today will be on efficient energy systems. What kind of energy mix and innovations we require to drive the just energy transition in South Africa. And then we'll also look at areas including the infrastructure, the future of energy infrastructure. What kind of infrastructure and innovations that we require to tackle the challenges that we face. In our case, our challenge is more about providing, as you said in your introduction, secure, affordable, and clean energy. But at the same time, we have a very important challenge of using energy to address our pressing socio-economic problems, including unemployment, poverty, and inequality, while also addressing environmental concerns. And then the last big piece we'll be talking about today is the financing of energy financing. So we have assembled several speakers, from banking institutions, including Nedbank, Rand Merchant Bank, as well as the African Development Bank, who will explain to us the different models that we can use to finance energy in a changing global landscape.
And that's an important aspect of all of this. But I think what I really need to understand is, how did India do it? How did they manage to go from a power deficit to a power surplus? And I'm hoping that that is the lesson we can take.
Yes.
What did they do? What did they change?
Yes. That's what we want to hear, today. But I think they placed a great deal of emphasis on investing in infrastructure. So energy lay at the heart of policy, in India. And for many years, a lot of work went into building capacity. They use coal. They use a thermal. They use a series, a mix of energy sources to drive their growth. So we want to learn those lessons. That is why we're calling the experts to explain to us what exactly made them such a successful energy, power.
Obviously, the buzzword is renewable energy, and as we say, it's a mix of solutions that India used, and that as South Africans, we're also hearing that we moved in that direction very, very fast. But let's talk renewable energy, and is that going to be a major focus as well?
Yes, so there'll be a discussion about the future of renewable energy. But in our case, the emphasis is on a mix. So we as we say, the just energy transition in South Africa cannot disproportionately focus on transitioning, to renewable energy without taking into account that, there are other sources of energy that we have to factor in, including using coal, nuclear, gas, and other sources. So our transition is different from what you see in Western countries because of the state and the context that we find ourselves in as a developing economy. So we can't just move towards a low-carbon economy without taking into account the need to address those socio-economic challenges that we face.
And certainly, it's also the skills. You mentioned that right in the beginning, is the skills we're needing in this new move and this transition, that unfortunately, you've got communities that are completely dependent on, for instance, coal mining. And, if we want to phase that out overnight, it cannot be done. This is livelihood you're talking about, and yet these are the conversations that are needed. And how is it that we can look at that skills transfer between India and South Africa, because that's obviously a big talking point as well.
So one of the announcements that we made today is the signing of an MOU between the African Energy Leadership Center, which is based at Wits Business School, and its counterpart in India, the National Power Training Institute, which is essentially designed to identify areas that we can collaborate in as institutions of learning, to build skills, to ensure that we prepare future energy leaders who will manage the just energy transition. So that will focus on issues such as, government industry collaborations. We'll also focus on issues such as digitalization and data analytics. In metering systems, there's a big debate yesterday. I was listening to the Minister, Ramokgopa, explaining the challenges that Eskom is facing with regard to. So there's a need to make sure that, the systems are modernized, they move ahead. So digitalization is one of the areas that we'll be focusing on. And then we'll also be talking about how do we prepare leaders who don't only have skills and expertise to work in the energy industry, but who also have the leadership ability, the leadership experience to drive the energy, transition. And countries like Namibia, which is sitting on the cusp of a boom, gas and energy boom. Those countries, if they're to succeed and become the Qatars of this world, they need the necessary skills, to manage that resource endowment. So we are looking at working with the Indian counterparts, not only to provide skills and experience and expertise for Indian and South African energy experts, but also for the broader Southern African region. Because at Wits Business School, we have students who come from other parts of the region, including Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Namibia, who want to also participate in our skills training programs.
Fantastic. It sounds very exciting for what lies ahead of us, daunting and exciting at the same time. But at the heart of it all is needing the energy to grow an economy. And when we look at what's happening in India, I mean, it's expected that they, through their manufacturing sectors, are going to be almost doubling their growth. I mean,
yes.
Those numbers are unbelievable when you look at it, and they're projecting that to be doubled in 7 years.
Yeah.
But you need
power.
Thank
to
you.
drive that, yeah.
And that's the reality,
Yeah.
is that, when you look at the situation that South Africa finds ourselves in, is it's because of the challenges that we face, and particularly when it comes to power. We won't even get into water, because I know that
Yeah.
isn't the conversation
Yeah.
that you're having currently. But, that's where, and I know you say you're signing these memorandums and you're going to be talking about it, but what I am gathering is that it's government, it's business, it's leaders from all spheres that need to come together to make this happen.
Yes, and this is what this initiative is all about. It's the first of its kind. We hope to have more in the future, and that's why we're bringing all these, industry leaders, corporate executives, policymakers, academics, researchers, energy professionals, to work together to find ways in which we can address these underlying challenges we face in the energy sector. And so we hope that the net result will be not just collaboration and sharing best practices, but it is also about identifying investment opportunities, so that we can learn from each other. There's a lot that South Africa can offer India, and there's a great deal that India can offer South Africa. These are two important countries with historical, diplomatic, economic links and cultural links, but now we need to ensure that we build collaboration in other areas of strategic importance, including energy.
And today is that memorandum of understanding that's going to be signed, and hopefully we'll see some fruitful decisions coming out of that. But this is not the end of the conversation, because we do have our SABC business team that are located there, and we'll be getting some updates from them throughout the morning to find out how it's going, and in fact throughout the day to see those robust discussions. Prof, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure. So that's Professor Mills Soko. He's talking to us about that energy conference. He's, of course, a professor of international business and strategy at Wits Business School. It's the groundbreaking Matla-Urja Energy Conference that's taking place. It basically is a collaboration between South Africa and India, sharing ideas as to how we stabilize and grow the energy sector.